Well, aren't y'all lucky? This video was going to be a single under 10-minute multi-point of view tips video, but now it's become 2 videos because there was no way I could cut all this information down to 10 minutes. But that's not y'all's fault, so you get both videos posted in the same day. You're welcome. Here's part 1. Are you thinking about writing a multi-point of view story? You've came to the right channel. Natalie Locke here, and we're talking about multiple point of views. Here's the 6 tips you need to think over before you do your multi-point of view story. We did already cover selecting your point of view in the last video. I will link that down below. But this time we're talking about multi-point of view. So this is before you've picked out first, second, or third person point of views. I've attempted and then decided not to a few times in my stories, but book 2 of my series that I'm writing is going to be multi-point of view, but just 2. And I can go into that a little bit deeper, especially once I get through outlining it. All right, first question you should ask yourself, is it necessary? Now, multi-point of view can be good. It can show different versions of the truth. Because you know the old adage, there's your story, there's my story, and then there's the truth. If we combine yours and my story, we might be able to get to the truth. So with that, a story can bring that life, where if you get 2 unreliable sources because they are looking through their own filters and combine their stories together, you may be able to figure out the truth. So there's that. Now, other times that you may find multi-point of view necessary is, what if the people that you are following, what if they are separated by a great distance and eventually midpoint in the story or something, they're going to meet. We may follow their stories separately on their path to finally meet each other, which is great. Tension build as they get closer and closer, or if they just happen to be in the same town one time but they pass each other and they don't realize it yet that they're looking for each other. Those things are fun. I like those. But you also may have characters that might be in different times. Think of a mother-daughter situation where we're following like the daughter in 2020, but then we follow the mother in 1980, and it shows how similar their paths are or something like that. So you could have your characters separated by time, or maybe just barely by time, where one character, we're getting a lot of history backstory leading up to when they meet the second character who we only got weeks up to the meeting. In those situations, analyzing those points, it could be necessary, because how else, if these characters are never physically together and we're trying to build up to them being together, how else are you going to get that other than their point of views? Those are situations where it's necessary. Now, with that, there is romance where it will give you the other side, whether it's by chapter or even a whole nother book to show the perspective of the, sometimes not even the opposite gender, but of the other person in the romance that's building. That can be interesting because the character is giving their own thought process that we weren't privy to with the first character's point of view. In the second character's point of view, we're now getting the whole story. It's kind of going back to that your truth, my truth, and then there's the truth. So a little interesting if you make that approach. So romance, it can be done. We'll go into details how in a future question. Tip number 2, ensure each character has their own distinct voice. You can do this by creating character profiles and character arcs if it's difficult to figure it out. But say you have a very high-strung, anxious character and a very mellow, down-to-earth character. I would expect short, to-the-point sentences with the high-strung character. And I would expect longer, drawn-out, very observant sentences for the mellow character, because maybe they're an observe before they act type of person. That is the distinct voices we're talking about. Now, it may not always be that extreme. It could be the characters are similar, but maybe where they grew up is different. So we have one character from the South that says y'all a lot, and then we got one character from the North that might say you guys. And so being able to choose your words correctly is very beneficial in making sure your characters have that distinct voice, especially If you end up choosing first person for your characters instead of third person, we're going to get a lot of I's in both of them. So we want to make sure the voice is clear, and we also signify at the beginning of the chapter, or maybe if there's a mid-chapter, usually not recommended, I'll explain in a little bit. But if there's a mid-chapter switch, then you want to be sure your reader is following and know whose lens they are looking at this story through. Don't have too many multiple point of views. Romance usually keeps it to two. The two people that are falling in love. We don't need their sisters, their roommates, their mom, their dads. You see the point? We're getting the people who are involved mostly in the story. Now, if you are in a situation where you think you might have too many characters, here's what you can do. Try removing one of them. When you remove one of them, you may have to tweak your wording a little bit, where that character relays their information through dialogue of what we would have gotten bits and pieces of through their point of view in their mind, and then press forward. If the story still makes sense and still builds on itself by removing their point of view, you probably made the right choice at that point. That's something to consider. It is one of those situations where the phrase is, sometimes as writers we have to kill our darlings. That might be a situation where you have to kill your darling. I'm sorry, we've all done it. I had to do it in my story, and it was changing a dialogue, and it was because it was a story playing homage to my grandmother, and I realized it was kind of out of character for my person that was speaking, so I had to cut it. That was a sad day, but it's okay. I still was able to pay homage to my grandmother and through my writing in other ways. Here's the important one that I kind of hinted at a little bit ago. Yes, there is 2 parts to this video, so there is going to be a link below to the second one, just for you.